Well, Disney has decided to remake another classic cartoon, and once again, they're taking heat for the updated storyline. This time, they're redoing the 1937 classic Snow White. There are a number of changes and to make it much more modern. They're ditching the dwarfs and making them magical creatures, and the main character will not be saved by any prince. So is this a better version of the original, or should it just be called something different?
Oh, you can talk! I'm so glad!
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first full-length animated film. By 1937 standards, it was groundbreaking. By 2023 standards, some of the themes and dialogue might not hold up.
She's a female, and all females is poison. They're full of wicked wiles.
So it's no shock that the fairy tale is getting a reboot with a modern flair. The evil witch remains, but the Seven Dwarfs will be called magic people. And there's a major plot twist, as stars Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot revealed.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
The son of the director of the original film says it's a disgrace that Disney is trying to do something new with a hit classic. The stars of Snow White argue a film that's this old should reflect modern times.
Reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power.
And that iconic line from the evil queen asking who is the fairest of them all is also altered.
It became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
All right, here's the question we've been asking you on X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. Do modern updates of fairy tale classics make sense? Overwhelmingly, 82.4% of you say no, they don't. 17.6% of you say yes, they do. Let's take it to our debaters. There's Samantha, there is Rashmi. Rashmi, I'll start with you on this one. Do you think that these remakes make any sense?
No, they don't. They don't. It feels like gaslighting. My friends have gone and seen Barbie, and I know we're talking about Snow White, but they're all like, oh, Barbie, it's like addressing all that anti-feminism stuff. And I was like, yeah, like what Barbie created? So if Snow White is all about the fairest of them all, and I'm going to tell you guys, my dad used this as an example to keep me out of the sun. He thought brown girls with dark skin was a bad idea. That's colonialism. I hate this completely. Snow White should stay Snow White. And if these amazingly talented people want to make a movie that empower women, make a movie without the evil witch. Why is the evil witch still around? What are we doing in 2023?
Samantha, what do you think?
Well, once again, I'm the contrarian today. I do think that these fairy tales need to move along with the times. There are so many things with the original fairy tale. And of course, the Disney movie that came out 85 plus years ago, I think it's actually 86 or 87 years ago. Of course, things should change. Yes, some of the foundational elements of the story should remain, but I see where they're going in terms of not calling it Seven Dwarfs or calling it something else, special, I don't know what you said it was, Mike. Also,
magical creatures,
magical creatures.
People, yeah.
Thank you. And I understand they have a more diverse crowd of magical creatures. The fairest of them all. Again, it kind of contributes to what Rashmi is saying, because the fairest of them all, she's talking about her father saying not to go out in the sun so that you won't get more brown. The whole idea of being so fair being beautiful. The story is called Snow White. How do you think that makes people feel who are not fair or who are not Snow White or beautiful, quote unquote, as it was said back in the day? So I do think we have to move things along. We can keep the foundations of the story, but I do think that it's important that women, people, society needs to reflect what is really happening in the real world. And certainly the story of Snow White in its original sense really didn't or doesn't.
So Rashmi, then in your opinion, do you just leave Snow White as it was back in 1937, remake something completely different along the same lines? Because, we saw this sort of same type of thing with The Little Mermaid as well, where there was tons of criticism for who they cast as the main character.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to remake movies constantly and then you just cast people for diversity, people who take issue with that have already found issues with things that are nonsensical. Like that shouldn't matter. If you're just remaking The Little Mermaid, fine. But what I find in these narratives, literally, the narrator, after 80 years of telling us how society views women, girls, and telling women and girls how they should be viewed and treated, now that same person is coming up and saying, oh, okay, guys, will you support me now financially if I just change the narrative? And we as a society could say, we've changed the narrative. We've moved on, Disney. We can rewrite our own stories. And that's where I just think most people would say that we are running out of creative ideas and we're just reinventing the wheel with creativity when it comes to Hollywood and movies. And this is not the lane to follow in 2023. Just leave it be.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Samantha, because when you consider the son of the original director, who I believe is 91 years old now, and this is David Hand, he had said that they changed the stories, they changed the thought process of the characters, they're making up new woke things, and I'm just not into any of that. And he says that his dad and Walt Disney himself would very much disagree with this. What do you think about those statements?
Well, I don't know. As they say in the southern states, bless his heart. I don't know. I think, he's 91 years old, and I certainly understand that he probably has a particular perspective that is not going to change at this point in time. I do think, however, that he needs to realize that what was okay in 1937 is not okay in 2023 and beyond. Things have to change. We have to move forward. We have to go along with the times and the public perceptions and expectations and acceptance of, reality as it exists now, not as it existed then. And I really think that I'm sorry that he feels that his father would be rolling along in his grave. And I have to say, Mike, that as soon as people are anti-woke, my ears close up. I just think, oh, brother, now they're saying that this is a woke thing. It's not a woke thing. It's just, reflection of reality.
Yeah, I just got worried
Rashmi,
I'm
what
on
do
the
you
wrong
think?
side of history all of a sudden. No, I don't want to be on the same side as that guy, Mike. I don't want to be on the anti-woke side as that guy. I mean, I don't think that that's what it's about either. I mean, I just don't know if they are going to successfully rewrite Snow White, right? So am I supposed to now then introduce this character to my children and tell them that there is nothing that's connected to it of historical value that made me feel uncomfortable? No, there are so many great books out there. I love Disney too, I get it. But we don't have to look for the next Disney story to fund. There are so many great authors out there, probably the ones who were forced to read Snow White, who have come up with better stories out there. We can turn them into films.
And it's interesting, one of our followers on X, formerly known as Twitter, Roxanne B, wrote in saying that humans are storytellers, and just as humans have evolved over time, our interests, our social views and priorities, so too will our stories evolve. And so one of the other things that I sort of wanted to throw at you, Samantha, which is I think is interesting, because this is part of the Disney franchise, you go to a Disney theme park and there is still Snow White as she was. So will this now change, and do we no longer see the Seven Dwarfs at the theme parks anymore?
That's a great question, and I'm laughing because I really don't know, Mike. I don't know. I mean, I guess if we go along with the woke agenda, then no, we will not see the historical images of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. If we continue on with the status quo, then it'll remain. And I guess the decision that's going to be made about which alternative is going to be dictated by the bottom line, the box office, and society as a whole. So I guess we just have to see who's louder in terms of what they want. And if the people who are woke are louder, we'll see a change. And the people who are apparently not woke, status quo will remain.
And Rashmi, I guess it also depends on the box office returns and who goes to see this movie.
Oh, gosh, maybe they're just limited with their options, and that's up to us to fund as well. But hey, if they're changing the storyline, we've made progress. That's what I would like to leave with you on this story. We did it. We made them change Snow White.